All right. What is going on, everyone? It's about that time. Oh my goodness. That sound is so fantastic. Oh, just have to get a sip of this sugar-free soda because when you're sitting for hours in coding, why do you need the calories, really? Well, if you were here last time, there's been a lot that has happened, okay? So this stream is going to cover the game that I'm working on. It's set for a July 27th release date. The first storefront that I'm going to go to is itch.io. There is a ton to get done between now and its release time. And the plan is to finish a ton of artwork, finish a ton of sound, and finish a lot of music. And tonight, what I'm going to show you is the main gameplay loop, so to speak. So in other words, we have the core mechanics, and we have a lot of systems that need to be built out still. But overall, we have what we could look at as a start to finish game at this point. And so, in the last stream where I left off was I was tinkering around with this user interface stuff, and I said, I'm trying to tackle too much too soon with what I'm attempting here. Let me get my bearings straight and kind of regroup. I worked throughout the week to finish a lot of what needed to be finished, and now I have everything as far as the basics mechanically. So there's a lot of things here that you're going to see that are still very ugly. But there's a lot of things that mechanically are kind of working. Anyway, having said that, let me transition here into what I like to show at the beginning of every stream. This is the elegacorp.com website. And here on the left, you'll see there are the latest blog posts, which there's always good stuff there to read if you haven't read any of those posts. As development continues here on Kalling Kingdom, I will be posting some development-related blogs there, but Kalling Kingdom will also get its own website pretty soon as well. And then there on the right, you have the stream schedule. Tonight, I'm doing a 7 p.m. Central Time stream, aka 8 p.m. Eastern Time. And going forward, I will be switching to Thursday evening, also at 7 p.m. Central. Anyway, with that out of the way, and with the little advert there for the merch, please remember that you can get 15% off by using the Call King promo code, which you should find right above me, right up there in that fantastic text. But let's get the development started. I think that sounds like a great plan. So I'm inside Unity, and you may notice a few things right away. So there's this top bar here. We have the current turn, we have cache, we have people, and there are some icons that have been added as of today. And so the icons lead to different panels. And there's a lot of panels in this game. When I say panels, I mean basically almost like a window that opens up that allows the player to select different options, and it's the primary way in which the gameplay mechanics are navigated through. And in a lot of ways, this is a game of menus, but the visual element here is on this green backdrop. It's meant to be kind of like a grass-looking texture. It's not quite a solid green, but it's where you'll be constructing buildings and so on. And then your goal is to attract people to the town and to earn income as you build out this town. So I'm going to do a little demo because there's a lot here that hasn't been shown yet, and there's a lot that got done during the week, and it's frankly a very different build than it was just a couple weeks ago. So let me go ahead and hit play here, and I'll kind of walk through things. Hopefully it compiles. There we go. Let me move this over just a tiny bit. I am dealing with some sizing issues with the UI. I'm going to kind of move this out of frame just a tiny bit just so we can get the next turn button over there. And I do need to make some adjustments up here, right? So there's definitely some ugliness going on. There's some things that are not quite aligned. For some reason, this people text is sagging down at the bottom there. I will fix that. I will fix the alignment of these things, but just try to ignore all of the ugliness at the moment because it will get prettier leading up to release. But for now, just roll with me. So up here in the top left, this is one of the very first places you would start. This is the available people panel. And right now there's a bunch of random numbers that are still assigned to the people. The person followed by the number here is meant to be a first and a last name. There's also a happiness level, which at the moment everyone, as you'll see as I press on through this demo, everyone has a happiness level of 50. Eventually what I would like to do is no longer show that number. I don't want to show 50 there. I would like to show the overall level that they have. Now it'll be a number under the hood as far as the code is concerned and as far as the simulation aspect is concerned. But for right now I'm just showing the number. And then of course the people have their own cache. So you can see that you start with 10,000 cache up here on the top UI bar, but the people are also running with 60 or 62 or 48 cache. And this is another thing, is that since the past couple weeks, I've added in these little clicking sounds. And what you're able to do is offer a certain amount of cache up front for people to come join your town. And so this is going to get a lot more involved. What you see here is really just for the prototyping purpose, especially with the fact that, as the player, we have no attachment to this random number going on. It's really just so that as I continue to test out the prototype, we can tell what's going on. Anyway, let me try to offer this person 60 of this in-game currency here and see if they accept. And right now they haven't. So I don't have any mechanic in here that really tells you the offer was rejected. And I also don't have any restriction around throwing out the offer during the turn. But I'm thinking that what I'll probably do is have it so that you only can offer a single time and then for the given turn, and then it gets rejected if it doesn't go through. Really not liking the audio issue there. Okay, so let me go ahead and increase this. I'll move it up to 80, and I'll say offer again. And they still don't want to do it. Let's try 90. Okay, so that person really wanted a high offer. The mechanic around the cash offer is sort of a randomized number, and it will vary. So some people will actually accept 50. Let's try this one. No. 60. No. But I can also, at the moment, I can cycle through people. So that person took 60. So anyway, there's a lot more to do there, because in addition to cash, as you build out businesses, the businesses will create resources, and then you should be able to use resources to extend offers in others' direction as well. All right, so I have two people up here at the top. That's what it shows me. I'm going to go to this little hammer icon, and this is the build screen. Now, at the moment, all of these graphics are the same. One of the things that is in the pipeline right now, as far as the work that I have to do on the near horizon, is to get artwork in here. But this is a pre-alpha build. Everything looks exactly the same at the moment because I've just thrown in a placeholder graphic in here for prototyping purposes. But you may notice that there are prices below each of these. At least that's what what those numbers are. And the K is indicating the currency, and so that's just a little bit of information for you there. The weapon maker is probably most similar to like a medieval blacksmith, and you may also notice the stable is the cheapest. So I'm going to click the stable, and I can drag it around anywhere I want. I'll go up here to the top right. When I do this, it wants me to provide a name for the business, so I'm going to just call this stable 1. I like to just, for right now, for testing, I like to just give a name and then follow it with a number, just so that I can kind of keep track. Especially since everything looks exactly the same right now. So I'll say assign, okay, and then with that pulls up this little business info panel with a little background, and there will be a lot more work done on the backgrounds as well as time presses on, but you can notice some information here right away. So there's the business name, which I just gave it, the business type, and of course it is a stable. There's no income coming in because there's no owner and there's no workers. So we need to assign someone to this. So to do that, I'm going to go to the top right over here to this icon, which basically shows the K from Kalling Kingdom, or the kind of the currency symbol, plus the person icon. And this is the business and people panel. So when I pull this up, it adds the person over here, which I have 2 different people, which I can identify from these buttons. There's a lot of work that needs to be done as far as the user interface goes with selecting people, but this was done very early on, and this allows me to hit this match button and just assign someone to a given business. But this in and of itself really needs a lot of work, both from the standpoint of the matching mechanic as well as the user interface itself. We want to move to list views as we press on. Okay, so I have 1 person assigned to the stable. I'm going to go ahead and refrain from adding both of these people to the stable because it's actually better, mechanically speaking, just as far as how the game's economics works, to go ahead and begin building out multiple businesses, even if you're supporting them with 1 person each. So I'm going to build 2 stables, and there will be build limits on each of these buildings. So I'll call this stable 2, and I'll assign this other person to the other stable. You can see that as I do that, the income per turn gets updated. I can click on these and review that business information again. It shows the person who owns it, which is basically the first person who goes and works there. And I'm thinking the owner will have probably more significance at some point, or I may remove it, but it's definitely needed to keep track of things in memory. Okay, so we have stable 1 generating income per turn 5. We have stable 2 generating income per turn 5. And so far, I've already spent 1,200, so my cash has been reduced from both of those, along with the offers that I gave out to those people. It's been reduced already by a lot. So let me see if I can advance. I'll click next turn, and when I do that, it advances and it shows this is the total amount of income that I lost. It shows I gained 2 on the population, and there's a lot more information that needs to be added here to the summary. But I'll click continue. Okay, so I did lose money, and you can't really see it, but I need to add some additional numbers there to let you know that your total income off of the tax revenue that is being collected off of these buildings was 4, because we're actually taking 10% plus a kind of a small multiplier based on how many workers are in the business. And then total expenses was 10, and I don't have a way for you to review expenses just yet, but the expenses would be things like water, infrastructure, military, and things like that. So we're going to get there to where that information is conveyed to the player as well. But let me build some additional stuff, and let's see if we can get some positive cash flow going here. So this is going to cost 1,000 to put down. So the startup cost of these businesses is pretty high. Because the idea is that you're only supposed to be able to be allowed to have a couple stables, but you can add a lot more farms. But the stables are the cheapest thing. Farms are a lot more expensive to place down. So I'm going to do 3 farms, and I'll also hopefully go land a few people to work at these farms. So let's try that. And it's funny how the there's some randomization that goes on around what offers people will accept. Each of these people in the simulation have a different level of cash that they're comfortable with accepting, and it is randomized a bit. So some games you play, it may be quite high across the board, and of course, other games it may be quite low. So let me close that out. Okay, so let's see. I need one more. So let me land one more here. Let's see if I can get one for 50. There we go. Okay, so saved just a tiny bit there. All right, so let's match these up. I got farm 3 and find someone who is unemployed. Now, this status, this is a bug. I need to fix that. What it should really say is that the person is a citizen, but they are unemployed. So similar to this, how it shows that their status is that they are employed and a citizen. It should really say that they are a citizen and unemployed. Available is what it really means when we were going and getting them from that top left panel. The idea is that you're gathering them from around the kingdom. Okay, so I'm going to match this person, go to the next farm, match that one, and go to the next person and match this person. And so you can see this person from over here on the right goes over to the left. That's the basic idea here. And in the background, you can see some clouds rolling in, because this is a relaxing game. Very cartoony clouds. I probably need to replace those clouds. But okay, let me close that. Okay, so I might have enough for positive cash flow now, but we're not really going to find that out just yet. Now, there needs to be a way for me to convey to the player how much income they can expect. I'm telling you how much income the business is bringing in. That's really what that number is. So when we say that the business brings in 5, we don't mean that you get that much in tax revenue, because the idea is you're taxing the town, and as the person basically running the town, you're getting that tax revenue, and you're hopefully working for your citizens instead of leading them into doom and failure. Okay, so let me click next turn. Okay, so it shows I gained 3 people, still losing a ton of money on these startup costs. And I'm not showing it here just yet, but it turns out that in terms of total cash flow, we're actually breaking even. We're bringing in 10, we're spending 10. And by the way, as you increase the number of people, the expenses go up as well. So there is slowly a multiplier on the number of people. So as you gain people, your infrastructure cost, your military cost, that goes up as well. And I did put a little bit of effort in the past week to updating that so that the curve is kind of following your effort correctly. And at one point it was a problem because I found out that my initial numbers, which I just copied over from what I was hammering into the game design document blindly without really doing the math, turned out that it was actually impossible initially with my original numbers to have positive cash flow ever. But that's fixed, so it is possible now. And right now the balance is such that you really just need a lot of businesses. So I'll call this farm 4, and let me land one more person, and this should be enough to get me to positive cash flow. Let's see if I can land one for 50. There we go. Okay, and then I will assign this person, match them to that 4th farm. Okay. So that's basically it so far. You can see the basic gameplay loop has emerged now. We're gathering people. We've bled a lot of cash getting this thing rolling. And I don't know if the starting cash is right. I don't know if the balance as far as cash flow and income and taxes is right yet. Those are all things that I need to continue to play with. But you can imagine that as I get the artwork done, and that's one of the next things to knock out here, as the artwork begins to get done, we can see the town emerging here. We'll be able to see these nice varied buildings as the artwork gets done. You'll be able to see, okay, yeah, this is a real sort of city that emerges here on this basically like a canvas of gameplay, and really just a way to organize what it is you're running in the simulation here, from turn to turn. And the last thing to mention is that I did get through with the end game. So it is possible to get to the end of the game. The default is you play for 60 turns, and at the end of the 60th turn, you're done. And you receive a summary there as well. And so these summary screens were really important as well. There's a lot of work that needs to be put into those. So if I say next turn now, okay, it shows that I lost 1,050, but I am actually just barely making positive cash flow. I'm going to go ahead and begin to skip through the turns all the way to the end of game. So let me do that now. I'll say next turn, income 2, 0 gain in population. So that's actually what I expect. I'm gaining 2 income every turn. Now, there's a ton of stuff that's missing. As I click through here, I'm going to hopefully talk about it. Major things that are missing right now. Let me see if I can just click through. Yeah, I can just click through these. Major thing that's missing right now is there's no market swings. That's something that I want to put in. There's no seasonal sort of changes as you progress through turns. I want to add in like a monster attack mechanic where you have to defend the town, and if you don't have a military, then things could end very badly for you, and lots of other things. And then of course we need the business resources mechanic, so that the businesses are producing these items every turn, and then there's ways that you can interact with those items. You can use them in offers, you can use them to perhaps trade with other towns and things like that. So I want to get that in here as well. Okay, so I'm here on turn 59. Let me go to turn 60, and hopefully this works without crashing, and it doesn't. Sorry, I made some changes before starting the stream. Oh yes, of course, okay. Let me see what's missing here. Line 363. Yeah, I made some changes right before starting the stream that probably broke things for the end game condition. But at one point it was working, and it would show you an end game summary. Let me see if I can get that restored really quickly, just so I can show you. Hey, Zombie Vader in the chat. Hey, what's up? I know you from Twitter. Welcome. Okay, so if turn that people count is greater than the highest people. So here in this code, this is something that you can see originally I had it to do in here. If you watched like the first stream, which I guess was like 9 weeks ago now, something like that. Man, I put this comment in, I think during like that first or that second stream, something like that, or maybe it was right before the first stream. It was very, very early, but I've begun to build it out. Okay, so what this is doing is this is going through and finding the highest number of people. Oh, okay, so I did change this, I remember now. So this actually, I'll explain why this is probably at some point. I ended up not being able to read the count property of the list. I ended up having to put in an actual integer value because it does this thing where it doesn't create a new instance of the object in memory. Anyway, okay, so let me minimize that. So let's start this over, okay, and see if I can actually get this to compile in the people count, and now we transition into development. This is how it happens. We do a little bit of gameplay, a little bit of play testing, and then we just fly into it, don't we? The name I does not exist in the current content. Whoa, what happened? What happened to my for loop? Goodness. Okay, yeah, let me fix that. People count. Okay, so that should work. So I'm going to jump ahead. I'm going to manipulate the turn number inside the Unity editor, and then we'll jump ahead to the last turn to hopefully get the in-game summary working. But this is the idea, is that the entire game is working start to finish, essentially. The the early basics here. You have a game now. Before, in any of the previous streams, I don't think I could say that. I just couldn't. So let me just do like an absurd amount of cash. I'm going to do like 100,000 and hit next turn. And then I'm going to go to turn, let me advance the turn to 58. Oh, it did not like that. Oh my goodness. I can't just do that now because it's actually logging data about each turn. Okay, but I can manipulate the cache, so if that's fine. So I'll do it that way. I'll just click through really fast. Yeah, so one thing that's actually happening under the hood, and this was not true before, this is something else I got done during the week, is now when you advance through the turns, it is actually logging data about every single turn. And this is extremely important because as I progress through to save games, that becomes critical because we have to be able to basically reserialize the state of the whole game. And in order to do that, we have to track what's happened in the history of the game as well as where we are currently. Okay, turn 59, I'm going to say continue, and next turn, continue, next turn, there we go. So then it shows our in-game summary. It shows the point when we had the highest amount of cash in reserve, the peak population, and it shows where we ended the game in total cash reserves. Not terribly valuable information. I definitely need some more meaningful things in here, especially to kind of add a sense of reward for getting through the entire game and getting through that playthrough and dealing with a number of challenges that really need to be added in at this point. So I'm going to go back to main menu, and there is just if you want to call this a main menu, it's not really. It's text with some buttons like that. These are prefab, just slap-on buttons at the moment. But you have it here, right? So that's the entire gameplay loop. You go turns 1 to 60. I can start over on a new game, right? And you can play all the way through. You can make offers to people. You can build out the city, and we have a whole game. Let's just ship it. No, I'm just kidding. Let's just throw it onto the storefront right now. No, you can clearly see there's a lot left to do here, especially from an artwork perspective and a number of other things. I like the mechanics are as simple as I was hoping they were going to be so far. And of course, obviously we have these layers to add, but I think even after we add the layers will provide just a little bit more depth while still keeping things fairly simple. Because I want to keep the complexity down for a number of reasons. Obviously, keeping the complexity down for the purpose of limiting scope and keeping the project manageable absolutely is a reason. I'm not going to lie to you about that. But another great reason to keep the complexity down is that I think it's going to make for kind of an enjoyable experience. Because, yeah, simulators, they are meant to, well, when we're talking about these kind of sims, they're meant to bombard the player with information. And this does that a little bit. But what I want is I want the interface to seem, or really in reality, to be simple. The user interface should be simple, but the mechanics should be deceiving in how simple they appear, when in reality, I want a big iceberg of depth to manipulating these small individual little things, but across time or overall, or maybe in a cascading way, they have giant effects. And I think with that, we can get really an interesting experience going here. Okay, so let me start making some adjustments. Something happened here with this people label up here. People, where is that? People, it's somewhere. People. Oh my goodness, where is that? Oh wait, you know what? It's probably hiding inside of text. Let me see what you can see, by the way. It's probably a good idea to go ahead and move things back over. Let me make an adjustment here. I realize I've been kind of bad about framing the windows just right so that you can see everything going on, and you know, window capture just doesn't quite work out. And anyway, all right, so can I just select this? Where is this? Okay, so this is inside of here, so this needs to be moved up. I don't know how it got so just like way down here. Number of people, I don't know what happened. Where's the cache? Cache is at 0.89. Let me see if I can. Oh my goodness, that's not right. It has like a relative coordinate space location, so it's like awful trying to get this to be even. That does look more correct to my eye. I really need a more exact way to do that. My goodness. See a couple familiar names in the chat. Welcome once again. Okay. This past week has been great too, because I've been able to focus on tinkering with the very beginnings of gameplay balance, right? Because you have a few things that already are balanceable, so to speak. You have the number of people that is really available at the moment for making offers to, and you also have these beginning prices on the businesses. So it's quite interesting. Okay, so where to go tonight? I realized that was like 30 minutes to go through that whole thing. And we have this is meant to be an hour-long stream for tonight. We've got about 27 minutes. There's all kinds of places I could go tonight. So originally I was thinking about doing kind of a modeling stream. In fact, you know what? I will show you a little bit of where I'm at with that. Okay. Let me bring Blender over here. Let me get a file opened up. So I don't know if you recall, but there was a like some concept art that was thrown out onto Twitter. Let me pull it up in case you don't know. How about that? But this is basically the farm concept. And I just want to show you the picture so that you can kind of see almost side by side. By the way, if you're not following the Kalling Kingdom Twitter, you definitely need to. It's twitter.com/Kalling Kingdom. I have some notifications. Very nice. And this is where you can find everything. It's very focused. Okay. So here's the farm concept, okay? And you can see in Blender, we kind of have the beginnings of that, right? And I want to add this little barrel and this little plant over here that I had kind of started on in the sketch. And we also need to add like kind of like these these little crop objects so that it's clear that we're growing plants, right? So let me see if I can get some of that done here in Blender with the time we have. This should not be a cube. Let me see if if actually using the cylinder primitive to begin kind kind of sculpting out a barrel will make sense. I think what I could do is like do this, make it so that it looks kind of like wooden planks, sort of, kind of. I can scale this down a little bit too, make this like kind of like there. What I'm thinking is, oh gosh, that's still way too large. And bring it down to about there. Yes, that's much better. Let's see if we can line things up here. Perspective is always deceiving inside of 3D modeling programs when you don't have good references, right? So yeah, we're going to turn this into a nice little barrel of something. Because, you know, people in Kalling Kingdom, they gotta store all their things in barrels. It's really the best way to store things. You just throw them into a barrel. You know. Okay, let me add some bevel to this. Good lord. Okay. This is probably not going to do what I want. Yeah, that's probably not quite what I want on the mesh. Oh, and by the way, let me just mention this real quick. So you're looking at a 3D model, and you might be thinking, why is he doing a 3D model when this is clearly a 2D game? And the answer is that it's 3D models that get converted to 2D because they get converted to a basically an isometric graphic. So you're always looking at things from this angle, and then we go orthographic, which basically just means we do like a fake 3D perspective, and all the angles get kind of evened out. I don't know. I'm really not. I don't know how you describe orthographic, but that's basically the idea. And then we're only looking at it from this side. So if I come around here, like there's like nothing done over here. It's just flat faces because you will never see it from that angle. I only need to make it look good from this angle, which is just yet another way that I can manage scope of the project because I only have to make a model look good from one side. Okay, so yeah, I'm going to undo this bevel. I don't quite want that. I'm going to need to grab the faces here. Can I disable the... let me disable that, yeah. Kind of work on just the barrel for a moment. Let me try this. There we go. Okay, so I want to bevel only these outer edges. Oh, that's still not doing what I want. I guess I'm going to get the rim whether I want to or not. Let me just do like a very slight, just very, very slight. Let me do like 0.02. Yeah, that's good. I can do that because then what I can probably do is take this and just kind of extrude this in just a tiny bit. Yeah, that's fine. Just that. That's all I need. That's really all I need. There's a barrel. It looks kind of like wooden planks surrounded. I could probably, you know, I could add some very nice detail to that, but it's good to get the general idea. Okay, let me do something else. We'll come back to that maybe. And you know, we got to do some nice color work here as well. And I haven't really decided how I want to handle the coloring yet, or the kind of the texture, right? I don't know if I want to do that across the 2D image, or if I actually want to texture this thing. I'm probably going to texture the thing, and I really need to add some detail to this. Maybe add some windows and stuff. You can just barely see from the shading. There's like the outline of the door. So like if I go into like the sculpting view, that just looks so much prettier at the moment. But you know, like we gotta get some detail going here, just on the model, and then definitely get some nice material work done on the landscape of this thing. And I probably said this, but by the way, I am a horrible 3D modeler. This is not my specialty. I am, really at my core a programmer, but this is a good way to practice, is to just kind of get something going. So for this plant, I'm gonna do something slightly different here. Let's scale this down. But yeah, with 3D modeling, I kind of started maybe originally whenever I was in middle school, and this is one of those things that I really just said, I don't want to really do this, because I'm just worried that the field is so competitive that I just won't be able to land a job. And I did a tiny bit back then, and at the time I was able to use, like, for educational purposes, 3D Studio Max, but here I am using Blender. Blender's cheap. It only costs the time that you spend rebooting it whenever it crashes. And I see in chat you say the art looks good. I appreciate that. We have a lot of work left to do. This needs to be a beautiful game. It really does. Okay, so let me get something happening with this thing. I'm gonna have to kind of modify the shape of this. How do I want to do this? Let me do subdivide. Probably get the general idea going for something here. Bring this down. Let's scale it just a little bit. Bring that down. Gosh, I could really just like do that. Like, I could have just like a square planter, and that would be like the easiest thing in the world. In fact, I'm gonna do it. No, just about. Well, hang on. I gotta add a little bit of roundness. I gotta add like a little bit of bevel. What I have found is that bevel just fixes everything. I mean, basically. Because when you add that little bit of roundness and you take away that sharp edge, it just makes it look so much more real, You know what? I'm gonna go ahead and add this fourth corner. I know I don't need to because you can't see it, but let me just do it. But yeah, if you talk to people who, this is what they do, they model for a living, they do 3D modeling for a living, they have all kinds of ways in which they've kind of solved their workflow. Workflow in modeling 3D modeling is just, it's so important because, gosh, look at that. That was easy. But yeah, it's just so important, like the speed at which you do things makes such a huge difference. Let me see if I can add some bevel to these edges. So in chat, you're asking, what programs do I use? So So I have some other projects that Elega Corp has under its belt that are 3D related projects, right? So like one of them is Age of Nomads, which is currently shelved, and that's a real-time strategy game. And I did do a little bit for that, and for that I used Sculptress, which is like a free sculpting program. Just do a tiny bit of bevel here. And then of course I've been slowly getting used to Blender. Gosh, this thing, like, I know it's just basically like a square looking thing, but I mean, gosh, it's like turning out better than I expected. Oh, it's so funny. Okay, now I need to make some plants to go in this thing. Let me save. But yeah, so I use Blender and Sculptress just for 3D stuff. For texturing, like, I have not done anything advanced texturing wise. I haven't used, a lot of people for like sculpting use like ZBrush. Haven't used ZBrush, haven't paid for any of that. And everything I do is totally legit, so when you have to pay for it, you get a lot more that you have to do, I guess. There's a lot more hoops to jump through when there's a price tag you're trying to avoid, basically. And money just needs to go to certain priorities, really. Let me see if I can get... I'm going to start seeing if I can get kind of a plant shape popping out here. Bring this over. And then just in general, I use so many different programs for different purposes. Like for media in general, I use a lot of Adobe programs. And I pay for the Adobe Creative Suite. It's about $55 a month. At least that's the price I pay. But so that means, Adobe Audition for audio, and Adobe Premiere Pro for video. Thing I always tell people whenever they want to know how to get into stuff, though, is that you really don't need to spend a lot of money. If you think you have to spend a ton of money, you're looking at the wrong resources. Especially these days, there's just hours and hours of YouTube tutorials and live streams that you can just, and there's free software. Blender is free and open source, and you can just make your way, basically, over time. You just have to be willing to pour in the hours. Okay, for this is going to be a little more... Can I lock this stuff over here? Let me take out that. Let me take out... I need to rename this stuff. Let me rename... so this is the farmhouse. What is this one? It's probably the barrel. Nope, that's the planter. So I'll call this the planter. So this should be the barrel. Nope, that's the new one. Cylinder is the cylinder is the barrel. Oh my goodness. Okay. And this one I will call the plant. So let me hide the barrel as well. There we go. We can work on this thing. So I think with plants, you just got to make stuff pointy. You know what I mean? You just got to... Well, maybe not like that. Oh my gosh. Okay. Can I get away with only doing as many vertices as this cube has in the first place? Can I get away with that? I bet I can get away with that. Let me find out. If I just shape this the right way. It almost works. It almost works. Okay. Yeah, so I gotta say, this has been a much better stream than last time. I was so frustrated last time. Stuff was just not working. And, you know, that's the way it goes, but... Okay, let me see if I can move this down a tiny bit. Oh my gosh, it's starting to look like a plant. Look at that. And it's really just a warped cube. Okay. And I bet I can copy and paste and then just like flip this around. Let me call this like plant 1. See if I can. And then maybe get some rotation. The other thing is I really have to orient this so that it's kind of visible from the angle that the camera's looking at it with. And the funny thing is a lot of people probably think that, you know, this is not something that game designers do all that much, like, you know, kind of cheat like this. They cheat all the time. All the time. Okay, I'm going to do one more. So this is plant 2. Copy and paste this, kind of move this out. Yes, yes, yes. I think that kind of works. I'm gonna move this back a tiny bit. And that probably works fine. Oops. Okay. Maybe rotate this a tiny bit. There we go. Probably need to make this whole thing a little larger. In chat, your phone's about to die, but you'll be back in a little bit. All right, sounds good. Actually, we probably only have about 5 minutes, so I've been having to keep these things kind of limited to an hour, unfortunately. If it was just me, I didn't have, you know, these things going on in life, I would be here for hours. Well, in fact, I was here for hours earlier today, just screwing with all this stuff. You know, this is the funny thing about the artwork is that, you know, if I try to do the best that I can with all the art, it takes so long. I just get such an appreciation for artists whenever I start trying to do my own stuff. You know, especially those who can just crank stuff out super fast. There's some super talented people out there. And I'm sure that, you know, if you were to talk to some of those people, they'd be able to get this done way faster than I'm doing it right now. Gosh, that is so much better than I expected, that little plant. Just can't get over that. All right. And if we refer back to the reference, look at that. It really is starting to look a lot like that sketch. I think it would be nice to add some windows, maybe over here on this left side. That would be a nice touch. Might do that. Might do that. Okay. So the next thing to do on this render, or this model, I mean, is to begin getting these crop objects, and for that, not quite sure how I'll do that yet, but I'm gonna think that through. I think we only have 3 minutes, so you know what? I'll go ahead and call the stream there. Thank you so much for those of you who watched. I consider tonight this was kind of a special night. I think you know, I really showed you from start to finish this whole thing beginning to come together. We have here, I mean, what you're looking at here in this model, this may end up being the very first sort of real piece of in-game art that makes its way into the game, and you know, we quite a bit more to do here, but there's something here. So so next stream we'll be talking about probably getting this resources system, getting the market swing dynamic sort of in there, so that the worldwide market influences how much income you bring in and the productivity of your businesses and things like that. And one of the core mechanics that is still missing is critical decisions that you'll have to make from turn to turn. And so, for example, you know, I want the people that are in your town to basically come to you with different things, like, you know, they need certain things, right? So this is like another use for resources. They need something so that, you know, they can provide for their future family, or they need something because they are in health trouble, or there is you know, some issue around, like there's the monster attack mechanic that is supposed to be coming in at some point. So there's a lot to do that is left, and but I'm really liking it so far. I think that it's I think it's getting to that point where it's what I imagined and it's what I wanted to build. So if anyone in chat has any questions before I run, now's the time to shoot them out. The next stream will be on Thursday, June 6th at 7 p.m. Central Time / 8 p.m. Eastern Time. I will see you then. If you would like to support the development, then please take a look at the t-shirts that are here on elegacorp.com and the Elega Corp merchandise. At some point, I hope there will be Calling Kingdom merchandise, but you know, we really got to get people loving this game first before I can really justify that. But any purchase you make, there's the Call King 15% off promo code, and that will support the development absolutely, and you'll be able to spread this wonderful company brand. Anyway, all right, thank you for joining me. I will talk to you folks again next week. Or no, not next week, on Thursday. All right.